Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast, and we are running into our favorite video of each and every day, our player props video. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. We got a couple other games and best bets on the slate for you tonight and some other videos here. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area. Nate, let's get into the player props we like for tonight.
Yeah, we got a rematch of Monday's game between the Sixers and Hornets, where the Hornets jumped out to a big lead, in part because Kelly Oubre started so hot, then Joel Embiid stormed back, and the Sixers, it wound up 127-125. I think there's some great props to look at on both sides, including Gordon Hayward, who we picked on Monday but had a rough shooting night. He's still sitting at 18.5 points, but also like Oubre at 21.5 points to go over that. Both those guys played 44 minutes roughly in that game. They don't really have a choice, do the Hornets, with LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, and Ish Smith all out. They need those guys to handle the basketball. And Oubre, not usually an assist guy. He does have at least 5 assists in his last 2 games. So you can only go up 2 there from 21.5 points to 23.5 points in assists. That's an interesting way to get a little more leeway in terms of him going over that prop. But mainly, he's been a scorer. He was really heating up before those guys went down and is now averaging 25.3 points per game on 53% field goal shooting in his last 7 games, 25% usage rate in that span, and it went up to 27% in that game against Philly. Philly allowed 58 paint points in that game. They're 19th in defensive efficiency on the road. Oubre, he's a guy who really had his confidence hurt when he went to Golden State and didn't really fit there. And he started this season sputtering. I feel awful that I dropped him in both fantasy leagues because now he's on fire. And yeah, as a pure scorer, I think he gets his in this game. And the way Charlotte plays is just, it's up and down, it's back and forth. And somebody's got to be getting the buckets with LaMelo out.
Yeah, it comes down to who's going to actually shoot the ball. I mean, they're playing an 8-man rotation right now. That the one they played the other night against Philly included guys like Nick Richards, JT Thor, and UConn alum James Bouknight. So, not guys that you expect to get many shots up. The Hornets put up 107 field goal attempts, no shortage of offense in this game, and I would guess that it's going to continue as they have to sell out even more on the offensive end and give up on the defensive end, which they're not going to come close to stopping Embiid regardless. So you might as well just try to run and gun as they have. And you can probably expect that tonight. Yeah, Oubre was a terrible fit for the Warriors. They yelled at him every time he shot because he wasn't Steph Curry, and he didn't play within the offense. And he doesn't really need to in this offense. And, especially with the way that Gordon Hayward and Miles Bridges struggled the other night, clearly Philly was like, we're taking them out of the game. Go ahead, Kelly Oubre, and get yours. I think he'll get another, 40 minutes and 20 plus shot attempts up tonight. So definitely feel good about 21.5 points for him as he's on fire right now. Another guy playing super well is Drew Holiday. Not going to be putting up those exact same numbers as Kelly Oubre because of the fact that he's got such a good team and players around him. But he has a nice juicy prop tonight against the Miami Heat team that is missing Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, as we mentioned in our other video covering that game. So 16.5 points for Drew tonight gets you about even money at DK. You look at his last 8 games within that 11 game stretch right now where, since they've had all 3 of their guys back, they've won 10 of those 11. And in his last 8 specifically, he's averaging 19 points on 23% usage rate, shooting 53% from the field and 42% from 3, which is really good for him. So yeah, against Miami, he's had, decent games where he really comes in and is kind of the guy distributing. He's actually averaged about 11 assists in his last 4 versus Miami. His points are down about 14 points there, and he's averaging still about 5 boards against them. So yeah, I think, Drew against a team that he's done pretty well with in the past and always plays really well, at least efficiently as well. I think 16.5 points compared to what he's been scoring as of late should be doable for him. If you like him, you want to add his rebounds and assists, which he's going to continue to get. And as I mentioned, 11 assists per game in his last 4 versus Miami. You might take those points, rebounds, and assists up at 27.5, which doesn't feel too bad considering his points is at 11 below that. I think he can definitely get that 11 assists and rebounds for sure if you think he's going to get 16 there. So I would feel good about Drew tonight. The money, the juice is better for those points where you get minus 105 at DK versus the points, rebounds, and assists that's minus 120. But with Drew, I always love adding those, exterior stats because of the fact that he just cleans up and is a hustle guy that's going to bring it all over the place.
Yeah, and the Heat shorthanded in the backcourt. They're going to be undersized when they have to play guys like Hero and Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry instead of Jimmy Butler. So he should be able to get those peripheral stats pretty easily. He's a good, he's kind of a bully point guard when he gets down there against those guys. And the Bucks, as we mentioned in the video, absolutely expected to win. They're 11-0 with their big three. They drop in 116 points per game. So if you think Drew can get 20 points and a win, that's plus 300. If you think he can get 10 assists and 10 points, that's plus 500 in a win at FanDuel. So some good juice there. And the Jazz also expected to win here on the road. I put in the article that I did not like them to cover 9 points in Minnesota. Well, other people also do not, and that's why it's being bet down to 7 points and dropping. They've lost 3 straight against the Wolves, who do an excellent job guarding the three-point line this year. But I think the fact that they're keeping it close, that we expect Minnesota to keep it close, is good news for Donovan Mitchell, who's really been cooking his last 33 points per game on 57, 43, 93 splits. And in his last 3 against Minnesota, a good 26 points per game, played 37 minutes per game and had 30% usage because those were all losses last year, interestingly enough. And the 2 at Minnesota, he took a whopping 44 field goals to get 28 points per game, shot 50, 46, and 100%, and only got 2.5 free throw attempts per game in those contests, while Minnesota is now giving up the most free throw attempts per game at home. So I think Donovan will be able to get to the line. I think he'll actually be able to distribute pretty well. Utah has been on fire offensively over their last 6, and he's averaging 5.7 assists per game. So you can just take 26.5 points at even money at FanDuel. You could try to go 31.5 points in assists, but I just like going 25 points in the W to get plus 120 odds there. Because Utah, they're going to need him to get around 25 points the way their offense is constituted. In this matchup, he can score at all 3 levels. So if they're not going to be able to get the high percentage of threes that they need against this Wolves team that guards the line, they're going to need Mitchell getting in there, scoring down low. With Karl-Anthony Towns a little bit banged up, it could be a little easier to get those buckets down low, and that would probably will the Jazz to a win.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think that the fact that this one should be closer than is expected, especially in Minnesota the way it is, that you can expect Donnie Mitchell to have to score some more points, like you said. So that's really what you get worried about with Utah when you see their big spreads. But I think Minnesota's being completely undervalued here, and I'm kind of scared of all of it. But at least Spida is somebody that when it comes to a big matchup, which this one definitely is, interdivisional and all that, it's going to be a good one. So. A guy I'm looking at tonight, Nate, that I'm actually taking an under here. Maybe not the most fun way to play this, but definitely I think the best bet here is Zach LaVine's under 30 points tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The reason he's even got those the prop that high on FanDuel right now is because of the fact that DD's out, Caruso's out, Kobe White's out. So 3 of their top scoring guards are not going to be in there for them. And the fact that last year in January, in 1 week in back-to-back games against Cleveland, Zach LaVine scored 42 and 44 points in that game, pulling the ball 30 plus times in each of those affairs. But just to let you know who was playing alongside him in that game, Thomas Satoransky, Luke Cornett, and Chris Dunn started that game alongside Zach LaVine. So you kind of ask yourself, why wouldn't he shoot the ball 30 plus times? But the reason I'm looking at the under here, even though I do expect him to be the bulk of the offense tonight and get that usage rate up even more than it is this season, is because Cleveland is very good on defense. They give up 102 points per game. That doesn't change on the road or at home, and they are at home tonight, where they play at a slightly slower pace as well, by the way. And in terms of their the amount of points that they give up to opposing 2 guards or off guards, there it's third best in the league. They give up under 19 points a game to opposing shooting guards. That's combined for both shooting guard, for whomever plays at the two against them. That's how many points all of those players are averaging, under 19. So I don't know why you feel too good about Zach LaVine's there. And lastly for him, although he had those two big games against Cleveland last year, in Cleveland in his last six, he's played 6 games on the road in Cleveland in his career, averaging 20 points, 4.5 assists, and 3.3 boards in those games. So this is a different Cleveland team that it's been. I don't think Zach LaVine plays well in Cleveland, and I don't think he's just going to be, he's going to have the freedom to just shoot as much as he wants tonight, especially with a Cleveland defense that's much better, not only on the perimeter, but especially once you try to get in the paint, which Zach LaVine has relied on a couple more free throws a game this year to get his points than he did last year, and I don't think he's going to be as likely to get those tonight. Yeah,
that's one of the biggest differences with the Cavs this year is they're actually number one in free throw to field goal ratio allowed, aka just denying free throw attempts, especially at home. So yeah, I mean you're getting some props set that still have some sort of residue from what Cleveland was last year, which was a team that just laid down consistently. Especially in that January stretch, where eventually they lost like 19 to 20 games. They were giving up tons of points, but and not even trying to stop a guy like Zach LaVine. Now you got Isaac Okoro, the second year wing stopper, who they can throw at him, and they've really just had a great team scheme in terms of denying everybody, not allowing a ton of points. So I like taking an under against those Cavs.
Yeah, some heavy Cavs talk, but they've got to get their due this year. Definitely a playoff team in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. So that is all the time we have for today. I'll make sure to like and subscribe to that page. You can check out all 3 videos we have up for you today. And until we see you next, happy betting.